How I Met Lewis Howard Latimer, created by Ramon Robinson and Brandon Freeney. Earl sat transfixed, watching his father Malcolm repairing a small lamp for their next door neighbor. At 8, he was inquisitive and soaked up the knowledge like a sponge. Daddy, did you like fixing things when you were my age? Earl cocked his head toward the lamp. Malcolm smiled. Yes, Grandpa showed me how to change a light bulb when I was just about your age. After that, I just fell in love with wanting to know how things works. Earl pulled a little frown. Weren't you afraid of getting shocked? Mom always tells me not to touch outlets and stuff because I could get a bad shock. Well, Earl, your mother's right, of course. But Grandpa explained to me the importance of safety first. Just like I do with you. He showed me the right and the safe way to do it, and also told me how not to do it so I could never get hurt. Malcolm smiled at his son. He was working on a lamp just like this at one time, and he told me the most amazing stories about how things like this lamp and bulb came to be. Oh, Daddy, do you remember the stories? I want to hear them. Tell me, please, Earl implored his father. I sure do, son. One of my favorite stories is the one about a man named Lewis Howard Latimer. Malcolm put away his tools. Earl's eyes brightened. They went into the living room, plopping down onto the comfy gay couch with the red and black pillows where all the great stories were told. Okay, Malcolm began. This is a story about one of the top 10 African American inventors, Lewis Howard Latimer. You mean like you, Daddy? Earl beamed. Malcolm laughed. I didn't invent anything, son. I'm just pretty handy at fixing things. That's all. Now listen. Lewis Lattimore was the son of escaped slaves, Malcolm started. Oh no, isn't one of those awful stories, is it, Daddy? Earl scrunched into the soft pillows. No, son, this is a happy story. Good people helped Lewis's parents to remain free. Now, Lewis, after serving our country in the Navy, got a job as an helper in the patent office. It wasn't a great job. It only paid $2 a week. $2 a week? That's crazy, isn't it? My allowance is more than that, Earl burst out. Malcolm smiled at his son. Well, Earl, this was happening about 150 years ago. Still, so when the money went a little further, still, it wasn't a good salary. But he watched and learned while he was there until he could draft. That means draw, basically. His inventions were to be patented, which means legally claimed so no one else could use them without your permission. Understand so far? I think so, Daddy. Please tell me more. He got so good at it that the firm where he worked promoted him and started paying him $20 a week to do drafting, Malcolm said. Malcolm jerked a proud nod. Eventually, though, through hard work and study, he became an expert electrical engineer. But I'm getting my head ahead of myself. Here's where it really gets good. You have learned about Alexander Graham Bell in school yet? Have you learned about Alexander Graham Bell in school yet? Malcolm asked. Isn't he the one that made the telephone? Earl bit his index finger. He didn't want to get it wrong in front of his daddy. That's right, son. But guess who drafted the patent papers for Mr. Bell? Malcolm grinned. Mr. Latimer? He did that? Did he do it? Earl asked, excited. Malcolm's grin broadened. Yes, and just in the nick of time, too. Someone else was trying to patent something similar. But Lewis Latimer worked hard and long and got it done before them, so Alexander Graham Bell got the patent on the telephone. Hey, Daddy, that's cool, but what about the light bulb? I thought there was a story going to be about that, Earl said. You're right. I just to feeling so proud and excited when I think of Lewis Latimer's accomplishments. It wasn't easy back in those days for African Americans. And Lewis Latimer was just so smart and actually invented things of his own and got patents for them. Wait just a minute. I got just I got a book over here. Let me see. Here it is, Important Inventions of the 19th Century. Malcolm flipped through the book. Yes, look, Earl, I want you to meet Lewis Howard Latimer. His clothes are really strange, Daddy. Stuffy, all buttoned up like that. Is that thing around his neck some kind of tie? Earl asked with obvious dismay. Malcolm replied, I believe it's called an ascot, Earl. You know, Lewis Latimer had to look his best because he was a respected draftsman and an electrical engineer. Okay, let's talk about the light bulb. A man named Thomas Edison invented the light bulb. However, the filament in the center of the bulb that actually produces the light only lasted a few days because of what was made out of. Lewis Latimer invented a way to make the filament last longer, so he made the light bulb better. Malcolm beamed with pride. Really, Daddy? Then what happened? Did Mr. Latimer get the patent? Earl pulled his feet up under him on a couch, practically bouncing in anticipation. Yes, yes, he did. And the new design made it possible to put electrical lighting in homes and on city streets. Lewis Latimer was asked to oversee the setting up of the electrical lights in the streets here and in other countries too. Then he started working for Thomas Edison himself. While he was with Mr. Edison, Lewis Latimer became one of the first of the Edison pioneers and the only African American on the team. Can you stop? These were highly educated, intelligent, and knew a lot about electricity. In fact, Lewis Latimer wrote a book called Incandescent Electrical Lighting, a practical description of the Edison system. That's just a fancy way of saying all about the a light bulb, son. Malcolm chuckled. Wow, Daddy. Mr. Latimer did all that? Did he have any kids like me? Earl wanted to know. Malcolm smiled. There are no children like you, son. But he did have two little girls. And man, he was amazing. Not only did he make the light bulb better, even designing the way it screws in today, but he also wrote poetry and plays and played music on his flute. He taught English to people who had come to America from other countries too, and he was involved in getting civil rights for African Americans of his time. It just goes to show you that there's nothing you can't do if you just put your mind and heart to it, son. Earl hopped up and hugged his father. Thanks, Daddy. I love that story. I hope you will tell me more sometime. I sure will, Malcolm promised. But right now, you better get to finish fixing that lamp.